I see. Edison Boaventura. Have you ever seen one of those beings?
Only this type here, only the gray.
Have you seen it?
I've seen it.
In what situation?
In some situations, there are things you don't know if they're a dream or not, and in others, you see them clearly. But what happens? The situation didn't allow you to take a better look. Let me tell you a detail, for example. I was doing a job at Banco do Brasil. This was between the years 1999 and 2005. It was the installation of the Banco do Brasil Customer Service Center. And then what happened? Many weekends I ended up staying in Brasilia. So for me not to just stay there doing nothing, sleeping in the hotel, I set a goal for myself that I would go to the Brasilia bus station. I would choose a destination in Goiás because there were several bus departures to cities in Goiás, and I would go to those cities to see if there were unidentified flying object cases, if there were cave paintings, because I like those archaeological things too. And then on one of those trips, I went to Formosa, which is a city in Goiás. I found out that there were archaeological petroglyphs there and that there were cave paintings in a cave. And my intention was to see if I could find any unidentified flying object related reason in those paintings. And then I went there. After that, what I did was I took the bus and all. I went to the city of Formosa. From there, I took a motorcycle taxi. It was a motorcycle. I went to this place, which was far from the city, where there was this complex of caves and cliffs with these paintings. And there the guy dropped me off, and we agreed on a time for him to come pick me up. All right, I paid half, and I was going to pay the rest when he came to pick me up. Yeah, otherwise, the guy would just leave me there. All right. So what did I do? I started going into cave after cave. Then I found the paintings, took pictures and all that. I found one of a gray, really cool, bald, with big eyes. I took a picture of that too. Some objects were also rounded, interesting. And I kept going. There were several caves. At a certain point, I stepped wrong and fell into one of those caves. I slipped. There was a lot of slime. I slipped and fell in there. When I fell, I hit something, and soon after, I realized what it was. It was a wasp nest, but it was those wasps that don't sting. They just get into your hair and tangle up. And there I was, lying on the ground. I looked to the right, and there was a little river, and you could see since there's an opening in the cave, there are several cracks, right? So you could see the daylight there, right? Can you see over there? So that little bit of water like that. And there was what seemed to me like a child, a very skinny being, right? Kind of a big head, but really skinny, like it was malnourished. And this all happened really fast because I fell, right? And the bees already started attacking me. And then like getting into my hair, and I was hitting myself, and I got out of there right away. So I didn't stay to check what that was, but there was a child, a being, I don't know what that was. There was something there. And then the bees, right? Getting into my hair, I was hitting myself all over. The more I hit myself, it seemed like the more they attacked because they release a scent and the others come after. So to sum it up, I kept going, I gave up, and then I didn't go into any more caves. That was it. Then I went somewhere to wait for the motorcyclist to return. There wasn't that much time left for him to come back, according to what we had agreed on. He didn't come back. I had to walk back to the city, and that was it. Then when I came back to Brasilia later, everything. Just so you have an idea, even though I had taken a shower and everything, but the next day there were still pieces of bee wings and legs in some places. Even in the bed, a piece of a leg showed up there, and I wasn't the only one.
Time you saw it.
No, that was one of the times. One of the times. The other time, I don't know if it was a dream or not. I was also in Maranhão doing work for the bank. Then I went to the city of Loreto. I went to several cities, but this one specifically We left from a big city. We would take those old trucks and then go off on those dirt roads. And until we got to this Laredo, that's where I was going to do some work for the bank. There was only one hotel in the city for you to sleep in. There were no beds, just hammocks. To take a shower, it was outside. You would take a shower using water from the well. It was really a very primitive setup. And what happened on the way from that big city until you got to Laredo? On the right side, I was sitting on those wooden benches along with other people, and suddenly, right here on the side, the truck was going that way. Then on the left side here, a light appeared. It looked like a blue light, a diamond, something shining. And it passed behind those little palm trees that grow acai. I don't know what that tree is called. I even heard it on the internet, but I forget the name of it. And there was some little palm trees, and it passed behind them, and it was following the car. We were here, and that object was there. Then I asked everyone, what is that over there? Look over there, look over there. Everyone kept looking, and then the car left, and it stayed. When I got to the city, I checked in at the inn and everything, really late at night. So that's why I don't know if it was a dream. I dreamed about something, about one of those gray beings. That's why I always say it's gray with black eyes that was there next to my bed. But then I woke up because of a scream from some guest in another room because everything was open. It was very hot, so the top was open and you could hear everything in other rooms. And the guy started screaming like this, "The creature is getting me, the creature is getting me." Then everyone woke up to see, and I also went out to the door to see what was happening. And then the guy said it was a bat that had come in from above and was sucking on his foot, his big toe. And that's what had happened. But before that, I was either dreaming or seeing that thing, because I don't know if it was real or not, or if it was a dream. Because since we had seen that strange object on the way, I might have been influenced. I dreamed about that thing. It really impressed me. Or not, or maybe suddenly I had some kind of interaction there, which was interrupted at that moment when the guy shouted that it was something that had nothing to do with it. Conclusion there to wrap up this mess. So what now? Then I went back to sleep, but I couldn't sleep anymore. I thought, is this bat going to come up here and try to suck my blood too? I went to E. It was open, you could enter, and everything at the top was open because of the heat. Maranhão is the southern part, right there in Maranhão. So what I did was, I grabbed some towels, wrapped them around my feet like this, and stayed in the hammock, right? I stayed alert, but didn't sleep again. So then it went on. No, I stayed. Man, if that thing comes and lands somewhere, right? I stayed there, kind of bothered by that situation and the heat, you know? You had to stay wrapped up so the thing wouldn't come. Good thing it was the last day there. And then I went to another city, right? I no longer stayed in Loreto. This occurred in Loreto, Maranhão.
Man, what a situation, huh? And the unidentified flying object at Avis. Did you ever see it too?
There are many situations like that. The last one that happened was on May 19, 2025. I went to give a lecture in Barra da Tijuca in Rio de Janeiro, and then I went to visit some friends, Tiago and Tiffany in Itaboraí, there in Rio, and then we spent a few days there doing research, interviewing people. In fact, today on my channel, the first part of the Itaboraí trip is coming out with some cases from there. And probably in the third part, there will be the video we made about the unidentified flying object there. Wow, what happened? While we were there investigating, Tiago said, "Hey, let's do a vigil." I said, "Oh, cool. Do you have any suggestions for a place?" I said, "Ponta Negra near Saquarema on the coast." So I mentioned Ponta Negra. It's nice, right? I know it. An incident that happened there with Luli Oswald was researched by Mrs. Irene Granke. That was a long time ago. And that she was abducted, she was kidnapped. She and the young man, when they were going to Saquarema, were abducted. I said it's Ponta Negra, even known as the abduction case in Ponta Negra of Luli Oswald. She was a famous pianist and had this case, which was true. It happened there. I said, cool, let's go. So let's do a vigil at Ponta Negra. Then there was another subscriber from our channel, Ramon, and then we met him there. He said, man, I have relatives there. I usually fish on the rocks, and we've already seen objects coming out of the sea there, right at Ponta Negra. Then he said, I'll take you to meet my relatives there. They'll tell you about it. There's one who was even a church pastor and all, and he told the story there. He also had some nephews there who had seen some beings. All of that was there in that Ponta Negra region. So it was already a somewhat suitable place. Let's do the vigil here then. So we went to do the vigil on May 19, 2025. Then we saw a meteorite. We saw a bunch of things. Then, at a certain moment, we saw a whitish object below Sirius, which moved to the right and then disappeared. So that was a strange thing we saw, but the coolest part was when we had already given up and were about to leave. Then my wife, Margaret, she went to test the iPhone, since she had switched iPhones and wanted to take those night photos. And from Ponta Negra, way over on the other side, we can see some lights from the Nossa Senhora de Nazaré church, which is in Saquarema, a church that's on a little hill there. So she went to take a picture of that place. But her hand shook and the picture came out kind of blurry. So she went to take a second photo since the first one didn't work out. It hadn't turned out very well. Then she asked me, what is that red light over there? Then we started to look, but it was really high up from the island. At first we said, could it be a tower that's there and we didn't see it? Because we had passed by there when it was daytime. And on the way to the place where we kept watch, it took about 40 minutes to get there. From there, it takes 40 minutes by car to reach Ponta Negra in Saquarema. Walking isn't an option. You can see it far away. I said, but there's no tower there. We saw it. It's really high up. And the thing was blinking. Then I grabbed the laser and pointed it at it. As soon as I pointed it, it turned off. Then it suddenly lights up more to the right and keeps blinking. Then I used the laser again, and while I was pointing the laser, we already realized it wasn't something normal. Then it starts coming, but really fast. Just imagine, by car, it would take 40 minutes from there to here. That thing came, but really fast, and suddenly it was already in front of us. The impression I had was that it was going to land. And we have all of this recorded. This is the object. And then it went to Ponta Negra and disappeared there at Ponta Negra. When it disappeared there, we later had the idea to go to that place. I don't know, maybe the thing landed over there. Tiago had also seen those red things there before. I didn't see it. He said he saw it. And then we went over there. When we got to a certain point, we first smelled a strange perfume. Then we walked a little further and we felt a wave of heat. First, it hit me in the face. I was in front. I took 2 steps and it got hotter. Then I went back, all shaken up. When I stopped, Tiago noticed something was wrong. What happened? Edson? Then my wife says, what's this heat in here? She felt it too. Then the other girl, Tiffany, also felt the heat. And then my wife said, I'm not going. I'm going back to the car. She already gave that order, right? And then in my head, a lot of things had already gone through my mind. I said, if this thing is there and it landed, it stayed there, invisible. That heat wave came from there, so I'm going to put everyone at risk? No, I won't. Since she said she was coming back, I said I wouldn't bring everyone back. So we ended up coming back. Then the
And it didn't make sense for it to get so hot so quickly, right?
No, and then after that, we didn't see anything else. We went back. We kept watch the next day. We went back there during the day to check out the place. Everything. It's a curious thing, isn't it? Because if something had landed there, we would have found some mark in that spot. But when we got there in the morning, there were tractor marks. Right, Margaret? They were tractor marks. I said, damn, what was a tractor doing here in the middle of nowhere? I mean, you don't even have trash there because there are no people on that beach, nothing. And everything was messed up. But I found it strange. I'm not saying whether there were marks. We just went to see if there was anything. To look at the cliff, analyze it and all. To see and analyze that whole situation during the day. Well, the object didn't make any sound. When it got closer to us and also closer to the water, since it was below. We should have heard some noise. If it were a plane, helicopter, or drone, we would have heard it. There's no way. There was nothing, just complete silence. And this object, after I did some more research, I found out there was a video that was made in January 2022 in South Carolina in the United States of the same object. But the only difference is that this red probe we saw pulsing comes out from inside a spacecraft. Mom, I'll show you the video so it's easier for you to understand what I'm talking about, your video. I'll show both. I'll show the video. The video we made is only a small part since it's very long. I'll show you the one from the United States so you can see it's the same. Here, let me find it here. It's here. I'll turn it over here. Look, this is the one we filmed, this little red one. You see how it pulses like that, right? In a little while, you'll see it more zoomed in so you can get an idea.
Wow, that's really creepy, huh?
It looked like a pulsating red ball with another little ball on top. Now next, the video from South Carolina from January 6, 2022 will appear, which is really impressive. It's probably the same object then. Probably what we saw, that object we filmed, was a probe, an unidentified flying object probe, because the video of the American is already showing up there in the footage. It comes out from the right side. You'll see a kind of white object with several lights, which is the mothership. And on the right side, a little red one will come out, just like the one we filmed there, just like the red one. So it's the same unidentified flying object probe we had the opportunity to see now in May 2025. Interesting, isn't it? Very
interesting. You guys really go after it, right, man? You go after it, right?
During Vigilia, we've already seen a lot, right? We've already taken pictures during the day, saw it on Easter Island. I saw it here in São Bernardo. I saw it in Poranga. I've seen it in Minas Gerais, a lot of things. Both solid and metallic objects, as well as luminous objects at night.